you in retirement and expecting to or have recently received an inheritance and wondering, what do I need to do? What's the smart move and what do I not need to do? This can be a complex topic that we try to walk through clients in this situation with a framework to help them decide what is their best next steps. And so this framework that we use, we call the 4C framework, where the first C is coordination. And that's really assessing where things stand. There's a lot going on emotionally and then as well with financial items at this time. So coordination with loved ones, coordination with trusted professionals, and really just assessing where things stand with the inheritance. So you're probably finding yourself asking a few questions at this stage of, how quickly do I need to react? I mean, what do I need to do now and what can wait? Or you may be saying, am I going to owe tax on these inherited items? What do I need to do there? But really with the questions, some of the answers may lie within just purely figuring out what you got. So for example, if it's a bank account, if it's a life insurance policy, then most likely not taxable for either of those, and you're able to move into your own possession pretty easily. Whereas if it's an IRA, 401k, annuity, etc., those are going to have some tax implications when you do inherit them. Going ahead and saying, oh, okay, well, I'm getting X amount of money, but I know that some of that is going to be taxable, and what to do there. So being in a position that you're coordinating, assessing what you have is the first step when we're thinking about this 4C framework. We've got also communication as one of the C's of the framework. And communication, actually taking a step back in reference to this video, is think about your own inheritance, your own funds that you may be leaving as an inheritance, and what can be done prior to passing to benefit the family. So ideally, you're able to have those conversations with funds that you're receiving, but if not, then at least think about it for your own finances. And what I mean by this, for example, everybody's in different tax brackets, in different situations. And so think about your own finances. What if you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in your later years than those inheriting your funds? Maybe you have an IRA, you're in a lower tax bracket, whereas the beneficiary is in a higher one. Maybe you could do a Roth conversion prior to passing, and so that your beneficiary doesn't have to pay higher tax, since you're in the lower bracket. And I've even seen situations where that beneficiary, if you're having communication with them, they could offer to cover the tax associated with converting the funds. Additionally, considering you're like a brokerage account, you probably have unrealized gains, unrealized losses, taking the losses prior to passing, and then with the gains, maybe not taking them prior to passing, since you get that step up in basis. But all things to think about prior to any kind of passing on of these assets. So communication, ideally done prior to the event of inheritance occurring. The third C would be confidence. And here's where getting back to receiving this inheritance in retirement, looking at your own financial plan. Theoretically, you're in retirement now, you pulled that trigger as far as leaving the workplace, and you're in a position where you feel that your finances can support your lifestyle throughout retirement. So the confidence comes from knowing what you have in the inheritance and how that fits in to your own financial plan. So for example, a lot of times the default is, well, I'll just put this inherited money in my own brokerage account that I already have. It'll just be invested with the rest of my assets. That's one thing we can do. Or let's just put it towards the mortgage. We have a few more years left on paying off the mortgage. Let's put it towards that. Both may be reasonable, and the decisions that you come up with, the answers that you decide to do. But also consider what other items you could use this inheritance for within your financial plan. Is that travel coming up? Is that gifting in some capacity? Is that a larger life event that you plan on, having maybe a purchase of a second home or something along those lines, where it's not necessarily just pure put it in the brokerage account and add it to the pot. It's more intentional. It's more going towards an area that you're confident knowing, hey, I got this inheritance, I was intentional about it, and now I've done something meaningful with those funds. The fourth C being comfort. And that, ties into the confidence as well. Oftentimes that confidence leads to comfort in saying like, okay, I use these funds a certain way. I'm proud of the way that I handled this situation. I think it's a way that honored the loved one that left these funds to you. And oftentimes maybe in this situation, you're putting them towards something specific. So I've heard, doing some travel, the one leaving the inheritance was a big international traveler, and now you're kind of passing on that, or they passed on that torch to you. You're taking it, and you're going on some trips that you've long wanted to do on your own. Or maybe the loved one that passed away had a charity that they were, tied to. It was, something of importance to them, and you make a donation in their honor. With some of the inherited funds. Maybe you looked at your financial plan and said, hey, I'm in great shape already. Let's do this instead, being intentional with the inherited funds instead of just adding them to the pot that you already had of financial assets in your plan. So that confidence leads to the fourth C there in comfort. So recapping: coordination, communication, confidence, and comfort being those four C's that we look at in this framework. But really at the end of the day, it's take your time, give yourself permission, come at this with a position of strength, based on that financial plan that you have that allows you to make decisions that at the end of the day, you feel good about. So if you have any questions or are looking for help with something along these lines, feel free to reach out to us at financialsymmetry.com. We'd be happy to help.